Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Harmon. Today I'm in a town called sea-tac, Washington, and I'm here checking out a very gruesome triple murder tragedy that happened right down the road from where I'm at. So I'm gonna go to the actual location where it happened and show you guys. And then I'm here at the cemetery where one of the victims is buried, and so I'm gonna show you the grave, or at least the final resting place of one of the three victims. So anyway, make sure you stick around and follow me. Alright guys, I just wanted to apologize in advance as I've been unfortunately losing my voice over the last few days, and so my voice sounds a little bit raspy, a little bit hoarse. So again, just apologize about that. Just bear with me as we get through this. But anyway, so this horrific triple murder happened on June 12th, 1980. A guy by the name of Timothy Pauly, who was 21 years old at the time, and his co-conspirator, they decided to rob a bar/tavern, which was called sea-tac Barn Door Tavern. And again, this is literally right across the street from the sea-tac International Airport. So on that night, Timothy and his co-conspirator decided to break in and rob the tavern. And so when they arrived, they found that there were actually 5 employees, of course, doing their normal job duties. And so Timothy and his buddy decided to tie up all 5 employees, forcing 2 of the employees, a guy by the name of Lauren Dowell and his coworker Bob Pierre. Timothy forced those 2 men into the walk-in cooler of the restaurant and of course tied them up before going back to the other 3 employees. Timothy and his buddy decided to tie up 2 of the women together. And these women were Margaret Tarp and a cook by the name of Sherry Beckham. And Margaret and Sherry Beckham were forced to strip naked, were tortured, and were tied up with the electrical cord, and essentially were left for dead. Then, meanwhile, Timothy and his buddy decided to sexually assault the other female employee. Her name was Linda Burford, and Linda was actually Bob Pierre's girlfriend. And so again, Bob Pierre was one of the coworkers who was tied up in the cooler, the walk-in cooler. Anyway, so Timothy and his buddy sexually assaulted Linda Burford before they hung her to death. And they decided to go to the other 2 employees in the walk-in cooler, again, Bob Pierre and Lauren Dowell, and they decided to shoot both of them to death. The other 2 women who were tied up together did miraculously survive, but of course they were left with absolute horrific, traumatic injuries, but also just the mental trauma of witnessing, of course, their friend Linda Burford being, sexually assaulted and then being hung to death, but also finding out that, of course, their other 2 friends and coworkers were shot to death in the cooler. So again, just absolutely horrific. Thankfully, it didn't take very long for police to finally narrow in their suspects, and they finally found Timothy Pauly and his co-conspirator, whose name was Scott Smith. They finally found both of them and were able to pinpoint and tie both Timothy and Scott Smith to the triple murder at the Barn Door Tavern. And so, in early 1981, Timothy was sentenced to a maximum term of life in prison. He was found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder, as well as, of course, the other charges of sexual assault and robbery. But because he was sentenced around 1980 or 1981, his 3 life sentence charges were essentially adopted or taken under by something called the Indeterminate Sentence Review Board, which essentially is like Washington State's kind of parole system that they had at the time. And so anyone convicted of a crime from 1981 before were kind of put under this Indeterminate Sentence Review Board, also called ISRB. And so because of this, Timothy was actually up for parole many, many times over the course of these last 4+ decades. And ironically enough, Timothy was actually scheduled to be released from prison on July 2nd, 2022. But thankfully, the governor of Washington State, whose name was Jay Inslee, he actually looked and reviewed the ISRB's parole order, and he actually decided to cancel Timothy's release from prison. And this is exactly what Governor Inslee said. In quote, "I am concerned by what is missing in Mr. Pauly's ISRB record," Governor Inslee said. "Mr. Pauly was given the important opportunity to testify and offer his thoughts on how his behavior has impacted the victims and families of the victims. He expressed feeling ashamed for his quote-unquote horrible actions, but in doing so, Mr. Pauly distanced himself from his actions and didn't properly acknowledge or apologize to the victims' families." Now, as far as his co-conspirator, Scott Smith, it doesn't really give much details about his specific prison sentence. I can only really fathom that he got similar sentence, considering he participated fully with the sexual assault, the robbery, the murders, etc. All right, rest in peace to Lauren and the other 2 victims. This tragedy did not need to happen. All right, guys, so I'm here at 14835 Tukwila International Boulevard in Tukwila, Washington. And this is where the Barn Door Tavern, this is where it used to be. This is where all 3 victims were murdered at. Now, from all my research, it looked like the tavern was right here in this parking lot. Although, again, this parking lot is very new, so I believe they tore the tavern down and they replaced it with the parking lot. At first I thought maybe the Barn Door Tavern was this building, which is a restaurant, but all the information I found stated that the address was the 14835, which would place it right here in this empty parking lot. So yeah, pretty crazy. I don't know exactly if the Barn Door Tavern was torn down or what exactly happened, but it's not here anymore. And I think what's even more sad is, you know, there's no memorial, there's nothing to indicate that 3 innocent people lost their lives here in this parking lot. Well, theoretically, you know, in the restaurant, of course. But all right, guys, I'm gonna head out of here. And if you're new and you want to continue watching, just make sure you subscribe. That way you get notified every time I put a new video out. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching my videos. It means the world to me. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. As always, my name's Harmon. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. See you soon.